So welcome to class. It's good to see everyone. Today we have an informative explanatory writing essay, a prompt, and let's highlight that. And what do we remember about informative explanatory from last week? So put in the chat what you remember or what you know. What do you know about it? The first thing that comes to mind is it's nonfiction writing. And we do not share our opinions, so no opinions. I'm just writing down what comes to mind. Someone in the chat said information put together in a story, but I'm just going to take information because you put it together in an essay, but not necessarily in a story, because a story is related to a narrative. There's two types of narratives. And when we think of a story, we think of narrative writing. For explanatory, informative, I like what you said, information. So we give information. No opinions. It's nonfiction. We have facts that we organize. And the purpose is so the reader can learn, right? So we're teaching something, new information. You're learning. It can be a how-to. One of my favorite examples of how-to is pretending that someone's never had a peanut butter and jelly and they've never made one either. And then you have the steps. The 1, take the bread out. 2, so it's giving information. It's explaining how to do something, right? We also can have a topic such as all about bugs. My son stays home with me 3 times a week, and I work with him at home. And then 2 times a week, he goes to a hybrid school. And right now he's doing all about bugs, all about ladybugs. So in this case, all about bugs, you would take that information and you would organize it and then explain the facts, right? How many legs do bugs have? What do they eat? Where can you find them? And that would be an example of an informative explanatory prompt. Okay. Let's take a look at specifically our assignment today. Write an informative essay explaining, so let's highlight some of these words. So we have to explain what the flu and flu vaccine are. Also describe what steps you would take both in the classroom and at home to minimize the spread of the flu during the next flu season. Use information from the article and your own ideas to support your writing. Okay, let's make some notes. Take some notes here. So this is our assignment today. It's very important when you read your prompt, your assignment, this is the same, that you understand what they're asking for. So what are they asking us to do? So we're going to write an informative essay, and we're going to explain, I'm going to underline this again, what the flu, so number 1, what is the flu? And number 2, what are flu vaccine? So two questions there, right? You're going to explain. Number 1, what is the flu? Number 2, what are vaccines? Also, describe the steps you would take both in the classroom and at home to minimize the spread. And 3, minimize the spread of the flu. So 3 areas that you need to focus on. And you're going to explain it to someone. You're going to pretend they have not, this information is new to them, and you're going to explain step by step. What is the flu? What are vaccines and how do they work? And 3, how do we minimize the spread of the flu? And right away, what comes to mind is to wash your hands, right? Wash hands. And even that can be explained. You run the water and you wet your hands, right? You get soap, you step by step. Then what happens? You have to make sure you scrub them for, some people say, sing the ABCs. You can't just wet them. My son, he gets water, he puts soap, he does this, and then he rinses them. So the germs kind of just get wet. He doesn't really scrub and lather up the soap. So even that, even washing hands can be explained. Okay, any questions on our prompt? So this is our assignment today. You get to explain related to the flu. And ahead of flu season, you get to go over this information. Any questions, comments? Questions, comments? No? Okay, let's go back and take a look at this reading. So here it says, one more thing I want to point out. You can use the information in the article and your own ideas or any background information you have. So anything that I already know related to the flu, like washing hands. Before I read the article, I know that it's important to eat healthy, drink lots of water, right? To minimize the spread. So there's some things we already know. So when we work on our chart, we're going to put all that in our chart. Okay, let's go back to the reading. Does everyone have the reading? Okay. Does anyone need a minute to get organized? Want to make sure everyone's ready. Are we all ready? Okay. Read the article below to learn what the flu is, how the flu vaccine works, and what people can do to prevent the spread of illness. As you read, think about how individuals can stay healthy and protect others during flu season. After reading, answer the discussion questions, then respond to the writing prompt at the end. As we read, we're going to highlight different things. We need to consider, though, what is the flu, right? What it is, what is the vaccine, and how to prevent the spread. So in the back of our mind, we need to think of these 3 because this is what we need to explain. These 3 areas. So as we're reading, we're going to highlight information that'll help us. We're going to take the information here and we're going to reword it and explain it to someone, but we have to use our own words. We can't just take this information and rewrite it. We have to use it in our own words. You can quote it, but then you would have to say, according to the text, right? According to the text, and then you can quote from here. Okay, understanding the flu and how to prevent it. How is it best to understand a topic, any topic? How do we understand? We understand because then in order to understand, we need the information, right? So we need information, we need facts, and that helps us understand any topic. If I want to cover my gray hair, which I do, I need to understand all the different types of hair dyes. I need to understand what color. So what is all of this? It's information. So in order to understand the flu, we need to take this information, organize it, and then we need to explain it. Okay, let's take a look. Understanding the flu and how to prevent it. Every year, especially in the colder months, millions of people catch the flu, short for influenza. The flu is a contagious, what is it, right? So what is it? It's a contagious respiratory illness caused by influenza virus. It affects the nose, throat, and lungs and can make people feel very sick for days or even weeks. So this is important here, right? How does it affect people? You could use that in your intro or in your body paragraph. So we're just highlight information here. While the flu often goes away on its own, it can sometimes cause serious problems, especially for young children, older adults, and people with weakened immune systems. Understanding what the flu is and how to prevent it is one of the best ways to stay healthy during the flu season. Okay, anything else that we should highlight here and use the chat? What are other pieces of information here in paragraph 1 that you think we should highlight? Anyone? Okay, second paragraph. Is there a volunteer who'd like to read? Volunteer? No? The flu spreads easily from person to person, mainly through droplets released when someone coughs, sneezes, or talks. So here we're talking about how it's transmitted, right? So if another person breathes in these droplets or touches a surface where the virus has landed, they can become infected. Flu symptoms usually appear 1 to 4 days after exposure and often include fever, chills, body aches, cough, sore throat, fatigue, and headache. Because the flu spreads so quickly, one sick person can unknowingly infect many others in a short period of time, especially in crowded places like schools. Why is this the case? Why is it a quick spread? So we go places, right? And if we're sick, even when we speak, we spray these droplets, and maybe we're not aware that we're sick and we're just out at Trader Joe's or at the grocery store, any grocery store, and we're talking to someone and those droplets are going everywhere. Then someone comes to the register later and has to use has to swipe their card, he puts in their PIN, and then we're touching it. Then we touch our face. So it's a very quick, easy way, right? Especially if we're out and about doing our basic things like grocery shopping, picking up things. And in the chat, someone said they can do it in schools without knowing. You mean the spread? Are you referring to the spread? You can be spreading it yourself without knowing. Okay, very good. Yes, absolutely. At school, it's even more widespread, I would say, because there's so many people. So it's in the classroom, right? You're putting up your backpacks, you're very close proximity, you're talking, and then you're using your hands for the sharpener. You're using books, maybe whiteboards, Chromebooks. So definitely, school's a great example. Okay, and let's see. Third paragraph, third and fourth. One of the most effective ways to protect yourself from the flu is by getting the flu vaccine. So here we're going to have information related to the vaccine. Now, in your essay, the second part of your prompt is the flu vaccine, right? The flu vaccine helps your body build defenses against the virus by training your immune system to recognize and fight it. So what does that mean? Helps your body build defenses against the virus by training your immune system to recognize. So this is how the vaccine works, right? This is the how it's defined here. What does that mean? I'll give you a minute to think about that and put it in the chat. What does it mean? It builds defenses against the virus by training your immune system to recognize and fight it. What does that mean? Can someone tell me in their own words what that means? Someone in the chat said protects your immune system. Okay. Anyone else? In the chat, someone said it means that if you are really sick, you are already used to fighting off the germs. Let's see. It cannot give you the flu, so the vaccine does not give you the flu, but it can prevent you from getting seriously ill if you are exposed because your body has already built that immunity to it, right? Doctors recommend that everyone 6 months and older receive a flu shot annually, since the flu virus changes slightly each year. Getting vaccinated not only helps protect you, it also protects those around you who might be more vulnerable to the illness. So, and those around you might be older, or let's say, yeah, older individuals, or they could be young children. And why are these two categories of people at risk, older individuals and young children? So why are older individuals and young children more at risk? Why do you think? And there, okay, someone in the chat said weaker immune systems. Yes. Maybe compromised immune systems too, right? And overall, young children, if they get really sick, they may not be able to fight back, right? Young kids, if they have really high fevers, it could be very dangerous. In addition to getting the vaccine, there are simple steps you can take both at home and in the classroom to minimize the spread of the flu. So now we're talking about minimizing. And that's your third section in your essay. In school, one of the easiest ways to stop germs from spreading is by washing your hands, often with soap. So washing your hands and warm water for at least 20 seconds. Teachers can also remind students to cover their mouths and nose with a tissue or elbow when sneezing or coughing, rather than using their hands. So a lot of times I've seen adults or people out when I'm out at a bookstore or at a coffee shop and they cough right into their hands. The problem with that is that then they use their hands to touch things. like the the where you swipe your credit card. What is that called? Um, at the cashier, either at a Starbucks or at a store. So those little boxes are pretty germy. And I've seen quite a few adults, or they wipe their nose, right? They use their hands, and then they use their hands to touch doorknobs, um, and surfaces that then we have to use. So it's really important to use a tissue or an elbow, because then your elbow, you don't go around touching things with your elbow. So that's really important. And you could even explain this further, right? The importance. So you can, in your essay, explain the importance of using a tissue or elbow. So you take the points given here and you can explain according to what you want to focus on. You can explain further. So they're like little bullet points that then you can explain further, like I just did about um, public places. Let's see. Desks, doorknobs, and shared supplies should be cleaned regularly since flu viruses can live on surfaces for several hours. So here, communal areas like desks, right? Sometimes we switch desk doorknobs, everyone touches them. Shared supplies, maybe like glue sticks, scissors, should be cleaned regularly. If someone feels sick, they should stay home. That's another way to prevent until they are fever-free for at least 24 hours to prevent infecting others. So staying home is also a good way to stop the spread. Okay. Anything you want to add to the fourth paragraph, and this is related to the spread of the flu. And I'm going to go through here. So the spread, the flu vaccine, spread. Okay. Anything else here? And part of the class here, the first hour, it's important to get a lot of your feedback. I know at least one student who's been participating a lot. It's important because then if you add your participation and your feedback to our discussion, then we have a lot more ideas, right? So at any time you could put it in the chat and then it contributes to our discussion. We're going to discuss it more when we make a chart. We're going to make a chart in a minute. At home, families can take similar precautions. So now this was school, right? So the emphasis here was school. And now we're going to see home. Keeping hand sanitizer near doorways and sink encourages everyone to keep their hands clean. So even at home, clean hands are important. Getting enough sleep, eating healthy foods, drinking plenty of water can strengthen the immune system. So these are preventative. You can prevent having a weak immune system. So we can say these are preventative. Okay. Parents can also help children learn healthy habits, such as avoiding touching their face. I always tell my son not to touch his eyes, especially, and sharing food or drinks. If a family member gets sick, they should use separate tissues. I think we should always use separate tissues, right? Even if we're not sick. Towels and utensils, and rest in a separate room if possible to keep germs contained. So separate tissues, separate towels, utensils, and rest in a separate room. And this will help with the spread of the germs. By working together, both at school and at home, communities can greatly reduce the spread of the flu. And let's see, there's something in the chat. In the chat, someone said, I think they mean separate tissue boxes. Okay. So Yeah, we should never, I think they're focusing on box. We should never share our tissues, even if we're not sick, right? Everyone should use their own tissue and then throw it out. Um, Vaccines, okay. By working together, both at school and at home, communities can greatly reduce the spread of the flu. Vaccines, clean habits, and care for others all play an important role. The flu may be common, but it doesn't have to spread so easily. When people take simple steps to protect themselves and others, they help create a healthier and safer environment for everyone during flu season. And this is important because it affects our community, right? So community is a great a group of people, a greater number than just your family and your home, but it's your school community. That can include your soccer team, your piano studio, your art studio. And in order to keep that group of people healthy, this is what we need to do. So certain steps. Okay, any questions or comments so far? Anything here? No? Okay. Let's take a look at these questions. I'm going to go through these with little bullet points, and then we're going to do a chart. And then we're going to take a look at sample intros, and then we're going to take a look at the structure of your essay as well as transition. So we have quite a lot to do. Let's take a look at the first question. So let's answer these quickly in bullet points, okay? What causes the flu and how does it spread from person to person? So what causes the flu? It's a respiratory illness. Whoops. Caused by and it's an infection that causes fever, chills, cough. Some of this information is not in the text that I've added here to give you some more information to use if you'd like in your essay. Body aches, headaches, and sometimes earaches or sinus problems. What oh, and how is it spread from person to person? So little droplets, right? That spray out of an infected person's mouth and nose. An infected person's mouth and nose. Okay. So here we have the spread and what it is. How does the flu vaccine protect people from getting seriously sick? You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a couple minutes, maybe 2-3 minutes, and I'm going to let you answer these, and then we'll come back and answer them together. So I'm going to set my timer for 2 minutes, and I'm going to give you time to answer them. That way we can have more of a discussion about it. So 2 minutes. Hope you had time to take a look at the question and the information. Okay, number 2, how does the vaccine protect people from getting sick? It doesn't prevent, right? It protects. Body, so the body builds, and these are all phrases, not complete sentences, defense against the virus. And the immune system recognizes and fights. What actions, oh, let's see, someone in the chat put something. The flu vaccine protects people by having the virus get around in little, okay. Okay. Let's see. What actions can students and teachers take in the classroom to help stop the spread of the germs? So simple, you can wash your hands, right? And remember, if you add that to your essay, you'd have to explain more, more details on what that means. Cover your mouth, that's a very big one. That's a big deal in the spread. Covering your mouth. Cover your mouth and nose when sneezing or coughing. And the third, stay home. Stay home when sick, because if you stay home, then you're right away minimizing the spread. Yes, someone said use tissues. And use tissues. Very good. Excellent. What healthy habits at home can help families stay well during flu season? So what habits at home? Hand sanitizer, right? To keep it handy. Or I would just say wash hands regularly. Sleep helps to keep your immune system strong. Eating healthy food. It's very simple. Eating healthy foods, drinking water. Avoid touching your face and sharing foods and drinks. And in the chat, it says, listen to the doctor and take medicine. Yes, let's add that here. Listen or follow the doctor's instructions, right? And take medication. Good. Thank you for adding that. And okay. Let's see, what else do we have? Why is it important for both individuals and communities? So that's just you. The community is the group, right? All of us to work together to prevent the flu. If we work together, we can reduce the spread, right? So you have here a lot of information. that you can organize and explain for your essay. So let's talk about this. And do we have an extra page here? Okay. So let's organize this information in a T-chart so that you can access it easily. So we're going to start here with this category, the flu. Let's see here. Flu vaccine. And minimize the spread. Okay, so this chart matches exactly our writing prompt. What is the flu? What is the flu vaccine? And minimize the spread. So we're going to quickly organize all the information that we have, plus any information that we want to add. And then you'll have this chart to use for your essay. It's just a way to organize everything. Okay. Okay. And, oh, someone wants me to go to the previous page. Sure, I can go to the previous page. Okay, let me know when you're all done. Okay, are you all set? And I'm not hearing back from you, so I'm going to assume we're ready to move forward. Okay. Oh, you're not ready. Okay. Let me know when you're ready. Okay. I have the green light to keep going. Okay, flu. It's also known as influenza, right? It's an infection. It causes fever, chills, cough, body aches, headaches, or sinus problems. And we know that the flu is caused by the influenza virus. It's contagious. It's a respiratory illness. It affects nose, throat, lungs, it spreads through droplets. And where would we get these droplets? From coughing, right? Sneezing. And even from speaking. Sometimes when we speak, we spit, and our spit contains the droplets that are contaminated if we're sick. Anything else that we could add to this category here of the flu? Anything else? Okay, the flu vaccine. So it's recommended for people age 6 months and older each year. And it's recommended each year because the strand of the flu might change, right? So each year they recommend that you get the vaccine. And it doesn't prevent, it protects, right? So you might still get the flu, but not at its full strength. So your body's a little more prepared for it. Protects you from getting a bad case. Mild symptoms if you get it. So if you get it, you would have mild symptoms as a result of the vaccine. So mild symptoms. May not get the flu at all. And given in the fall, so it's usually given in the fall before the cold season, right? And flu season is usually October through May. And some people are more at high risk. And who would this be? So who would be at high risk? The elderly, young children, those with pre-existing illness, like a compromised immune system, those that have asthma. So these are all pre-existing illnesses. They would be more at risk of getting the flu, right? Okay. And how do we minimize the spread? So this is just a chart to put all the information in order for you. And then you can select what you want to explain and how you want to explain it using your own words. Okay, so the flu spreads in the form of drops that spray out of an infected person's mouth and nose. When he or she sneezes, coughs, or even laughs. And you've been around people that are laughing and they sometimes they snort, or sometimes they're laughing so much that they spit, right? So I've seen that happen before. Can catch flu if you breathe in some of the tiny infected droplets. Sneeze into your elbow. So minimize, right? Sneeze into your elbow. Not your hands. Wash your hands often. Get the vaccine as a way to minimize the spread. Avoid touching or getting near family. And anything you want to add to any of these categories, just put it in the chat. Stay home if you have symptoms. Minimize touching your face. And then clean doorknobs and shared supplies, right? Okay, anything else to be added to these lists? So a lot of information. So in your essay today, you're going to explain what is the flu. So let's see, what is it? What is a vaccine? And how to minimize the spread. So these three categories are your essay. And let's see in the chat. I can't post this on the assignment because this is part of the, I just used the PowerPoint here, but I can leave it up. So if you would like this to be shared up when you're working on your essay, I can. So just let me know what you would like up, okay? No problem. I can do that. Now we have a few more minutes before break. Can I switch share document for now? Can I switch over to something else? Or is someone working on this? So does that mean don't move, don't? Okay, someone's working on it, no problem. Okay, so I'll stay here for another few minutes and then we will go to our transition phrases and to the structure of our essay. So we need to take a look at how are we going to structure our essay. So a lot of information that you get to explain in your own words, but you do need to structure it in a certain way. So we'll take a look at that once we're all done with this paint, okay? Okay, so I got the I'm ready from the chat. Thank you. Okay, let's take a look now at your structure. So this is the structure, our outline essay. So we need a lead statement, and that's your hook, your first sentence in your essay is very important because it grabs the reader's attention. Then you need a thesis statement. So we need an introduction. Then we have 3 body paragraphs. 1, 2, and 3. So these are our body paragraphs. Okay. We're going to talk about lead statements or lead. So let's talk about that first. And then I'll come back to the structure here. So lead statements. And let's see here. Okay, it is time for our break. So let's take our break and come back in 10 minutes. Okay, and we'll talk about our lead sentence. Okay, let's continue. So for informative writing, our first sentence, we can use a question. And here the example that they have. Did you know that there is an amphibian that lives in the desert? So we can use a question for our first sentence, our lead to our informative essay. We can use a fact. There's an amphibian that can live in a desert, or a description. The really hot desert is home to a spadefoot toad. So those three here, I would like you to choose one to use for your lead today for your essay. And I have transition words, but I thought I had it on a separate page. Let me take a look here. I'm going to add this to your assignment so you can access the transition words. Where did the other one go? There was two here. Okay, so I'll add these transition words for informational writing. There's 3 sentence starters there. Then for facts, first of all, the first to start, the fact is to begin with. So you have this chart that you can go to access for transition words. So I'll use that as an attachment to your assignment. And let's see, question. Someone just asked, do we start writing? Not yet. Give me 1 second. I'm going to go over introductions. I have sample intros. Let me just find them. I'm having trouble here. Let's see. And here we are. So you'll be able to start your essay in 1 minute. Let's just go over the last thing we have. Actually, we have 2 things. We have the intros and then the structure. Okay, so for your introduction, you do need a thesis statement and you need a little bit of background. Oh, what happened here? As well as, so you need to have a lead. And what did this person use for a lead? We have experienced the loneliness of being stuck in your room while everyone is outside having a good time. And should that be a question? It almost seems like it should say, have you experienced, right? Being sick is certainly something we all try to avoid. In order to stay healthy this season, it is important to know about the flu, what the flu vaccine is, and steps to take to minimize the spread of the flu. So for sample 1, the gray highlight is the thesis statement. And let's take a look at our second sample. Have you ever had to miss a play date because you were sick? Being sick is definitely not fun, and everyone tries to avoid it. During flu season, it's very easy to get sick. As a result, it is very important to know what the flu is, what the flu vaccine is, and how to minimize spreading the sickness. And sample 3, achoo, stuck in bed, medicine on the nightstand, and canceled plans. We have all been there, and one of the most common reasons for this happens is influenza, also known as the flu. In order to stay healthy during the season, you need to know what the flu is, what the flu vaccine is, and how you can minimize the spread of the virus. And sample 4. Ugh, there's no more tissues in the box. Not again. With plans that were canceled, terrible headaches that felt like people were pinching your head, empty tissue boxes discarded around the room, and many bone-shaking headache-causing coughs, I think it's appropriate to say that being sick is the worst. Nobody likes being sick, being left alone in bed, wondering what to do. If you don't want to stay in bed this season, it's important to learn about what the flu is, what the flu vaccine is, and how to minimize the spread of the flu. So we have 4 samples here. All 4 samples include the parts that we were talking about earlier. So for your intro, you need a lead statement. And we went over some examples, right? It can be a strong statement with some facts. It can be a question. It can be a description. And then you need your thesis statement. And here I would add in the middle that you also need a little bit of background. So what are you talking about? What's your topic? It's influenza, right? And you can introduce it. For the first main idea, what should we cover here in our first body paragraph? What is the flu? Right? What is it? What does it look like when people are sick? They're sick in bed. They may have headaches. They may have fevers. They may have chills. So these are the details. You can select 3 details that you want to explain. And for detail, I would also say fact, right? Fact that would support what the flu is. The second body paragraph, you're going to talk about the vaccine. And you're going to select some details, some facts to explain. And you can choose how you want to do that. You can go to the chart here and select information from here. You can go to the text. You can go to the questions and get information from here. It's very similar information. There's an overlap in the information, but you may want to go to the chart. You may want to go to the question. So you can choose where you want to go. Then sorry about that, I went in the wrong direction. The third main idea, steps to take in the classroom. And at home to minimize the spread. So you're focusing on the spread of the flu. So you have your intro, your first main idea, second main idea, third main idea, and then your conclusion. Because it's an informational writing, your structure is going to look very similar to the rest of the class. So it's not going to be very different. What's going to be different is what facts you select, what details you explain, what you, in your own words, what it looks like. So the essays will all be different, but they'll have the same structure. Okay? Any questions? I started to go a little faster because I'd like for you to use the time to work on your essay. Any questions or comments? Okay, so for the remainder of our class, use the time to work first on your outline. So you do need to put the information here first. Then you can go to the Google Classroom and start typing your essay. Okay, so let's see here. Let me post the essay.